everybody, and welcome back to the I Don't Know Running podcast, where we share our experiences that make running fun and sometimes not so fun. I'm Lewis. I'm a self-admitted lazy ultra runner, and I got in a run today.
I'm Mitch, and I'm shocked.
That totally threw you off.
No, you didn't.
I did, technically.
What's technically? What's that even mean?
I technically ran today.
Either you did or you didn't.
I did.
There's no technical to
100%, I did.
it. So you ran.
I ran.
Or maybe it wasn't as fast as what you wanted it to be. Was it outside or inside?
It was outside. You are just...
Sun is out today.
It was out.
Is that your first run of the year?
Well, let me put it this way. My average pace was 13:38.
So you're calling it a run.
Well, I ran during this exercise. Siri's going to talk to me now. So I took the dog for a walk, and during that, I ran.
Oh,
Do you want to know why I ran?
because he got off his leash?
No. Okay, I'll probably get flack for this, but
Somebody
sorry.
was chasing you in their van?
No. There are areas your dog can poop and you don't have to pick it up. Am I right?
Oh, people should definitely comment on that.
Come on now. If you're near woods and it's like off trail in woods, you pick up that poop?
Yes, every time.
No, you don't.
So you can't call that you didn't go out with the intention of running.
I didn't
ran.
say that. I did not say that.
Oh, I'm not shocked anymore. That's ridiculous.
We got out about 3/4 of a mile. I could tell he was getting in that poop mode.
Because they start circling.
No, but he was smelling a certain way, and the tail was a certain way. I'm like, come on, dude, we can make it. We were about 3/4 of a mile from the trail entrance. I'm like, come on, boy.
I'm that way with my dogs, with Gus especially. Like, I can tell when he starts going, and then I try to keep him in the middle of the road for a while. It's like, no, I don't want you to go in someone's front yard. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a trail, and I feel okay if he gets to the trail and we're in the woods and he is in the woods proper, like where people aren't even supposed to walk. You're not supposed to be there. It is a paved trail. You're supposed to stay on the paved trail. And if he poops in the woods, just like a bear doesn't hear a tree, it's not there. It's like, come on.
The bear does
hear the tree.
No, the bear that you're mixing up two different things.
There's a bear. That's right. That's right.
Tree falls in the woods.
Fall in the woods.
Does a bear poop in the woods?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yes.
Does a bear hear a tree fall in the woods? No.
That's a new one. I think you should make a hat for that one. That'd be some really cool swag.
Yeah, so I ran him to get him to the trail and get him far enough down the trail. I was like, woohoo, we made it. I didn't have to carry a bag of poop back. We do pick up his poop. I will say that 90% of the time. But if it's in the woods and it's off in the, like nobody's there. Like nobody goes there. And you know how many other birds and squirrels and rabbits and all that poop there?
Well, somebody goes and picks that up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But if it's in yards or on the bike path or
that's my pet peeve.
I pick everything up.
I think I've run on the White Pine Trail where somebody doesn't pick up their dog.
No, we pick up.
Horrible.
Yeah, we pick everything up there. Yeah.
So anyway,
what are we talking about today?
What's next?
Like, subscribe, and share this podcast if you like what you hear. Isn't this great?
Yeah. We don't know running, but we know poop.
Yeah, we do know poop and what you have to deal with as a runner with it. And but yeah, do like, subscribe, and share this podcast, this episode with somebody who might find it entertaining or fun or wants to get into running, or maybe you want them to stop running and this might be the thing that gets them to stop. Who knows? Make it work for you.
And if you're going to comment, don't make it about poop.
Or if you want to, I guess.
It doesn't matter.
But today we are not talking about poop. We're talking about shoes. Talking about, well, what shoes are right for you, high level, some things that you can do to help find the right shoes for you.
Well, especially if you're just starting out.
Yes.
A lot of people have an opinion. I have an opinion. I know what I like.
You do?
Weird.
You have an opinion?
Yeah, I had a meeting today and I got invited because I was passionate about something and I had an opinion. I'm like, you're
bingo.
You're right. Well, let me tell you.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some shoes. We've just come off from, in January, we talked about, if you are first time runner, how can you train for a marathon, some things like that. What happens if you don't train for a marathon and you want to run a marathon, or you're in a position where you are going to run a marathon on training, that kind of a thing. Well, hey, we are going to do the next thing, which is, and maybe you should do this before, but
a lot of times you start out, you don't worry about equipment as much, and you should.
True. That's true.
This is saying, like, this is part of it. Like, and if you wanted to do a long story short, we would always say, go to your local running store.
Yeah.
Get fitted.
Very true.
But there's more to that than that, because there's the questions that they're going to ask you and that you should pay attention to as far as that goes.
Yeah, that's true. That is one thing we have said several times on the podcast is go to your local running store, a true running store. Now we're talking about the big chain box stores.
No.
Not like that. I mean, I wouldn't say chain. The big box stores, don't go there. There are some chain stores. Fleet Feet is a chain. That's a big running store here. I think that's in the Midwest.
There's not one close by us, though.
There isn't, but I feel like they're not far south of us.
Okay.
But anyway, they're a big, they're all west, aren't they?
Yep.
Doesn't matter. Big chain store, running store, that's fine. But make sure it is a running specific or endurance sports specific.
They have people hired that know what they're doing.
Yeah. Long story short, you can do that. These are some things you may want to consider and talk about or think about leading into getting some shoes. Number one, why shoes matter in the first place and in this case, we are going to have a little bit of a focus on marathoners. When you're talking about 5K, 10K, even half, I would say, man, they're not sprint shoes, but they're a different shoe than for a marathon. They can be the same, but if you want to go faster for a 5K, I wouldn't wear a shoe that I have specific for a marathon. You can go faster on other shoes for a 5K if you want to do that. So these are kind of marathon. These have a marathon bias to them, these questions. So why shoes matter for marathon first timers? These are just some things, and we're just going to kind of talk off from, but the long distance impact on your feet matters. Preventing injuries and discomfort, that all matters. And optimizing performance for a successful race. The long distance impact on your feet, 100%. That's why Hoka does what they do. They are known for lots of cushion, things like that. And that's why a lot of other brands have since done very similar.
There's a lot of people have followed along. I still remember my first pair of Hokas.
Yeah.
I got made fun of for them.
Yeah.
They were ugly.
I've always liked a shoe like that, though, that kind of pushes the boundaries of the design.
Then they were just so simplistic then. I need to find a picture, but yeah, they were not attractive.
Gotcha. Okay. But yeah, it does matter. And you can tell the difference between a shoe that you can just run a 5K in, and that's kind of the design, or it's just a general running shoe versus a shoe specific that is like designed to go for a marathon.
And just like anything, it depends on what your goal is, right?
True.
You still, you might want a less cushion shoe for a marathon. It depends on where you're at. But a lot of times we're talking about a highly cushioned shoe that handles the impact on your body with the miles.
Yeah, and this is why you go get checked out, because a running store is going to look at your gait, your running stride, and determine that, like, hey, yeah, you're a heel striker, which, hey, that's that's if it's working for you, that's fine. You may want to in the future look at finding a more efficient stride. However, if it's working for you, you're not getting injured, but you're a little bit of a heel striker, you may want a different shoe than somebody who lands on the balls of their feet. It's just how it is. They might be able to get away with maybe less cushion because they don't need that big heel cushion. So those are reasons why you want to look at this for your first marathon. The types of marathon shoes, cushion shoes, as we've talked about, stability shoes, or minimalist shoes. These are just 3 kinds of shoes. We already kind of talked about the cushion shoes, but there are stability shoes specific to helping if you overpronate, underpronate, things like that, where your foot turns in or doesn't turn in. That shoes that will help to correct that.
A lot of times you can tell if you're wearing a pair of shoes. You can tell by the wear, how they're wearing. But that's the beauty of going to a running store is they'll actually watch you walk or run. A lot of them will even put you on a treadmill so they can see that, especially if you're brand new.
Yeah, and some even will put you on a treadmill, record it, and show it back to you, and they'll do more than. I mean, I'll say they have the ability to do more than just fit you in a shoe. They're like Gazelle, for instance, probably Strider does the same. I don't know. I just know I've seen this at Gazelle. They'll have running shoot like an event where you can sign up and they'll bring 20 people in and you can get on the treadmill. They'll watch you run. And they'll actually diagnose your running stride and say, hey, these are some things that you can do to improve your running stride and be more efficient in your run. So if you're getting into running for the first time, this is why we talk about going to your local running store. These are things that you can find at your local running store, possibly. Not every running store is going to have that. Minimalist shoes, it's just like what it sounds. They're usually way less heel-toe drop, way less cushion. It's meant to be more like running, not barefoot, but like with less on your feet.
Right.
I've used that a couple of times with trail shoes, because they're light and nimble and feel good on the trail. But it's not for everybody.
I'd agree on the trail. I don't want all that cushion. I don't want all that height.
Yeah.
I want to be, but I do want a really tough, like sole and kick plate so that if you're stepping on roots that you're not hurting your feet.
Yeah.
But I do want to be closer to the ground in that case.
Yeah, it is funny because for ultra distance, you go, well, I do want cushion, but I don't want to be stacked super high because you lose stability.
I had a pair of Hoka trail shoes before and I felt like I was going to tip over all the time.
Yeah, that's why those not ultras. Shoot, what's the shoe
The shoe,
I cannot think of it. Why?
The ones that you had a subscription
Yeah, subscription to. I always think they start with an
I don't remember.
A and they don't. Anyway, they came out with a trail shoe and I just, no. Because all they were was just a stack of cushion, but no real, like, they were not stable at all. I ran once on the trail and said, nope. Yeah. But that is a perfect example of going and checking with like a shoe store and saying, hey, what's a good trail shoe? What has a good rating? And they're going to give you something that's actually going to be able to give you stability on the trail.
Even with all that experience and them going through it, it's still personal preference. You're going to know based on how you run.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people start off on the trails, but
some do. And if that's what you're doing, all the more reason to go get a trail specific shoe.
Going from road to trail, it's definitely different. You're going to want a different shoe.
Yeah. Here are some key features to look for. Midsole cushioning, the foam types and their benefits. There are many different foam types that they're using today and why they use it. And there is way too much to go into there other than to say, you can look into that. And as you find a shoe that might be right for you, look into that because there are different reasons those different foams do what they do. Fit and breathability. This is a big thing. for a couple of different reasons, but avoiding hot spots and blisters, and just the fit and breathability will help that or potentially hurt that. If you have I have a Gore-Tex pair of Salomons, great for winter and wet. However, if it is hot, they don't breathe as well. Now they do breathe, don't get me wrong. However, I don't want to wear those when it's hot because your feet get hot. I wore those for the first 30 miles of Western because it was the snow, all the snow.
Yeah.
And man, I could not wait to get changed out of those.
I had Gore-Tex Gators before too.
Oh, yeah. And Gators will make a difference if you're...
that makes it hot too.
They do. They boil your feet.
Yeah.
Or broil or, either one. Steam them. But yeah, look at breathability. That makes a big difference. A lot of shoes today have a very open mesh design to them that allows a lot of breathability, which you do want. Because a lot of what we run is in the summertime.
With Gore-Tex, too, you might be just filling them up with water, and then it has nowhere to go. So,
yeah, and there is that aspect, too.
So I would rather, a lot of times, I think I would rather just have my feet get wet.
Yeah, and they do talk about, like, especially getting into trail, drain ability. How well does a shoe drain?
Right.
Which plays a part in, how well your feet are going to feel after so many miles. Yeah, durability and longevity. We've talked about a little bit even on that aspect with those marathon-specific carbon-plated shoes. They're good for like 100 miles. I don't want that. I do not want that. So be careful. Don't go out there and buy the $250, $300 pair of shoes thinking, oh, these are the best. You're only going to get like 100 miles out of them.
Yeah, they are great.
And they're more than that, aren't they? They're like $500 now.
It depends on what it is, but yeah,
like Nike's top one is like $500,
and they're good for 100 miles.
$1,000. My gosh, that is so much. But anyway, take a look at that because some shoes, they are a trainer shoe. They're going to give you more miles. Got to be careful with that because as we talked about as well, 300 miles. Some say less, some say more.
Yeah.
But 300 is a good round or a general rule for how many miles you're going to get out of a pair of shoes. Then it does not become so much a matter of the sole as it does the cushion between the sole.
They start to go flat.
Yeah. But some will actually wear out the sole. Like those, why can't I think of the brand? The brand that I have, they don't put a rubber sole. It's just the cushion.
Oh, wow.
And they do wear out. But
quickly.
you're trading them in every month and a half and getting a new pair of shoes.
How often are you going through a pair of shoes right now?
Saving a lot of money. Yeah. I would always go more than 300 miles though. I would always go 400 or 500.
I always have to.
Yeah. That said, I do feel that. When I get to the end, you do notice your body. You're like, why am I sore?
It's crazy. You put on a new pair of shoes. You're like, why didn't I do this before?
Yes. Feels amazing.
Yeah.
Finding the perfect fit. We've kind of talked about this. Measuring your foot, finding the exact size and width of your foot and how that fits into a shoe.
Here's an important fact. Just because you wear a certain size in a street shoe, it's going to be bigger for a running shoe.
100%.
That is one thing that we've both learned.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember going when I first got into running, and I wore a size 10 shoe, and I went and got a size 10 shoe for running, and my feet killed me.
Yeah.
They hurt.
And I think that your feet kind of expand. I'm a full size bigger in my running shoe than I am in a street shoe.
Same. And I would say that I've actually, your feet do continue to grow some. And I'm already up a half size from when I first started running general shoes. And I'm amazed, like, oh my gosh, the size shoe I have to purchase for running specific.
Yeah.
And if you're buying for a 100 miler, you might have a half size up from your half sized up.
Well,
especially for the second half of the race.
Right, especially at the end.
Because your feet swell and things like that.
Sounds fun.
It's a blast. So yeah, those are some fit or things to look at for fit, trying on different shoes. And speaking of, fit, every brand's going to be different. So you can't just go, well, I'm wearing a 10.5 in Nike, so I'm going to wear a 10.5 in Salomon or Brooks or whatever.
Did we talk about this? I felt like Nike's
run small. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely have to try on that brand, Mizuno, whatever you're running in or looking to run in and change to, got to go try those on.
Yep.
And they're all going to fit. The toe box is going to fit different. Ultras have a wide toe box, which is great for people that need that.
Yeah, they look like clown shoes, though.
They do look, funny. And then, as we've said, go get expert advice, consulting with a running store specialist. And finally, race day preparation and tips. Again, we're talking about race or marathon distance and maybe potentially your race shoe. Break-in period for new shoes. It's shortened a lot.
I got schooled on this before. To me, I've opened up, because it's the same shoe I always run in. I've taken them out of the box and run a marathon in them. I was told that was wrong, that I should at least do a run in them.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with being wrong, but I have. Because it's not a new type of shoe. It's the same shoe. But I guess the manufacturing process, it could be different, so you should test.
Yeah, and there could be a manufacturing defect. Who knows? But yeah, you should definitely get in at least one run prior so you know that race date, you're good to go. And that nothing changed. I've shown up to Boston and gotten Convaras there and said, this is what I'm running in the race. Yeah. So I have done that before. Not a great strategy. It worked in this case. Does not always work out. That said, Nicole has run, and it was the shoe she always ran in, and she was 13 miles into a marathon or something like that, and the insole just started messing up. Started coming out or something like that. She wrote Brooks and said, hey, this happened in my marathon. They sent her a new pair of shoes. I said, here you go. So manufacturers can be good like that. And then it does talk about pre-race stretching and warm up for your shoes. I don't know. I don't do it. I don't stretch my shoes out.
Oh, I've never.
Yeah. And then choosing the right socks for your marathon. That's kind of more gear related stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
I will say different socks fit differently. So your shoe will fit differently depending on the sock you wear. If you go into a shoe store and get fitted in dress socks that are really thin and you wear cushioned wool socks.
But a lot of times I've walked in there with dress socks and they have a spare pair of socks to put on.
Yeah. Yeah. Do that or get the sock that you would normally use for running and get fit in those socks.
But I would say that right behind shoes, equally as important is the right socks. And that's not part of this, but if you're running in a cotton sock and a really good shoe, you're kind of defeating the purpose.
Yeah. Well, you stand to get blisters.
Right.
Or have foot issues. Yeah. The shoe will still do its job, but you're potentially going to have foot issues.
You're going to blame the shoe for
a hot spot or something.
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's not that.
But go Smartwool, go Exoskin. Both of those I love. Mm-hmm. Those are my two favorite. What are you running in right now for socks?
I'm not running.
But when you were running a month and a half, 2 months ago,
3 months ago,
we're not counting.
Exoskin.
It is Exoskin still. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I highly recommend them. They are wonderful. They are a synthetic. Well, are they considered a synthetic? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you just can't do that and you do want that soft feel of a cotton, then do Smartwool. But for avoiding blisters and hot spots altogether, Exoskin.
If you're on the trail or if your feet are getting wet, oh my gosh.
Exoskin.
Yeah.
All day long. Yep. Yeah. They are the best. We're not sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form. We just both have used them and loved them. And yeah. But yeah, those are some, again, just high-level tips, tricks for finding your first shoes for your first marathon, or if you're a beginner runner, these are just some ways to help you out. I will say, if you're running, as we said in the beginning, half is a weird distance because you can still use your marathon shoe race shoe. If you have a race shoe, which it is a little bit different than like a trainer, you can use that for the half, but you can also take your like 10K up to a half sometimes, depending on the shoe. Again, there are a lot of designs and engineering that goes into these shoes today that make them very special for certain distances. So check it out and find the best shoe for you, and go check out your local running store. That will help out a lot. But yeah, with that, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the I Don't Know Running podcast. Be sure to tune in next time as we share more about what we just don't know.
Until then, happy running.